This is the IELTS listening test. You will hear a number of different recordings and you will have to answer questions on what you hear. There will be time for you to read the instructions and questions, and you will have a chance to check your work. All the recordings will be played once only. The test is in 4 parts. At the end of the test, you will be given 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the answer sheet. Now turn to Part 1. Part 1.
You will hear a conversation between a rental agent, whose name is Chase, and Brooke, who is looking for accommodation. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 4. Now we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 4.
Good morning. My name is Chase. I'm the duty agent.
Good morning, Chase. I'm Brooke Fields, and I'm looking for new accommodation.
I'm sure I can help you with that, but let's get some particulars first, Brooke. What did you say your family name is?
Fields.
Good. Now, how old are you, Brooke?
26, almost. I'm still 25, but my birthday is next month, on the 24th of September.
I see. And how long have you been in Australia?
Quite a while now. I came 3 years ago and spent 18 months in Melbourne at first.
How long have you been in Brisbane?
A year.
But...
Oh yes, I forgot to say, I was in Adelaide for 6 months, but the weather was too cold in winter, and I didn't like it there.
You'll like it here, then?
Oh yes, I do.
Now, what's your current address?
Unit 4, 5 Trade Winds Crescent. But I'm only there for 3 more weeks. I've given notice already.
I'm going to have to move quickly to find you something soon. What's the postcode for Trade Winds Crescent?
5217.
Thank you. This unit you're renting now, is it 1, 2 or 3 bedrooms?
2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom.
And are you looking for something similar in a unit or an apartment?
Yes, 2 bedrooms will suit me just fine. But I often have family or other visitors come to stay, so I'd like an extra bathroom.
I can understand that. Look, I've just listed an apartment with 2 bathrooms that might suit you. Would you like to have a look? Have you got time now? Good.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 5 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 5 to 10.
Well, here we are. What do you think?
It's nice, but I wonder whether it gets too hot and stuffy in summer without air conditioning.
I shouldn't think so. Did you notice the ceiling fans in all the rooms?
Yes, but will I be able to have the windows open? There are no insect screens.
Ah, well, there's a reason for that. Insects aren't a problem here. You may not get the sea breezes in this area, but there are other benefits. What do you think of the kitchen?
Pretty good, really. It might not be very big, but it has a fresh, up-to-date feel and modern appliances. I just love this cute little pantry too.
The landlord has recently done all the floors. Do you like the carpet in the bedrooms?
Oh, yes, I do. A good neutral colour. I especially like the living room. The polished timber floors are lovely. The bathroom tiles aren't new, though, are they?
No, but any cracked tiles have been replaced, and they've all been professionally polished. Anyway, I'm glad you like the apartment. I think I know why. The owner is an interior decorator.
Oh, that explains it. But there's just one problem, though.
What's that?
The rent is $300 a week. That's a bit more than I have been paying.
Well, this is a better area than where you've been living, and the apartment is beautifully appointed.
Yes, but $280 is my budget, really. And how am I going to raise 4 weeks' rents for the bond? That's $1,200.
Well, that could be negotiable. I'll talk to the landlord and see how he feels. He might consider taking 3 weeks instead. By the way, could you sign a long-term lease?
No worries. I've just started a new job in the city, so I'll be around for quite a few years, I hope.
Well, that's great. Is your salary direct credited to your bank account?
Yes, of course.
So it won't be a problem to set up the same system for regular rental payments?
I suppose. But I paid my last landlord by cheque or sometimes cash.
Well, our agency only accepts electronic methods of payment. It's more secure and it keeps the bookwork nice and tidy.
Yes, I see.
Well, think it over, but you'll have to be quick. A property like this will be snapped up in no time. Oh, one more thing. It's a bit unusual in this day and age where tenants are expected to cover all the utility bills, like power, telephone and internet, but for some reason the water is bulk billed to the whole apartment block, so the charge for that is included in the rent.
Well, that's a bonus, I guess.
That is the end of part 1. You now have 1 minute to check your answers to part 1. Part 2.
You will hear the public relations officer from the council reviewing events that were hosted by the town in the previous year. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 16. Listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 16.
Kingstown has been a busy town this year, with some high-profile and new events happening in and around the area. In January, we hosted the National Kayak Selections, and this competition attracted a number of well-known paddlers, not just from this country, but from Canada, Ireland, England, and Australia. Following this event, we had the nation's top bowls players descend on the township, with the national championships taking place at the Kingstown Bowling Club, attracting well over 400 players. It was a resounding success, as you could see from the numbers thronging the bowling centre in Main Street. February was the month for the seriously social rafting competition, and this was the first time Kingstown had hosted an event of this nature. It attracted 96 paddlers from all walks of life who enjoyed a great day of fun on the river. After the success of last year's Open Half Marathon event, this year, in March, we hosted a women's-only duathlon in an attempt to get more women involved in sport. The starting point was at the Kingstown pool, but an extremely chilly evening saw a huge reduction in the numbers we were expecting. However, approximately 50 participants were not deterred from tackling the event, which for many was the first time, and these hardy contestants went into the first 2.5k run with great enthusiasm. The cycle leg was extremely challenging because it was into a headwind all the way, and the last 5k run was no easier. At this point, I must thank all the volunteers who took time out to help make this event successful, especially the road marshals who did an excellent job. We must also thank the Kingstown Creative Pursuits Society for hosting the wonderful Autumn Festival. The women involved put on a magnificent demonstration of traditional and present-day craft work, ranging from ancient weaving techniques to modern pottery designs and sculpture. These ladies are highly skilled, and they got a good turnout on the day, which, by the way, they are thinking of making a biannual event. So we might have a spring festival on its way. Winter brought with it the annual Kingstown Youth Tournament, which was a huge success, with the allocated team slots filling up fast. Teams consisted of approximately 15 youths, ranging in age from 8 to 18. The teams spent the day on the fields of Prince Park, playing a round-robin touch tournament system. The event, which drew large crowds of the public who cheered and gave lots of support and encouragement for the teams, showcased some outstanding youth talent.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 17 to 20. Now listen and answer questions 17 to 20.
Now, what's coming up for the school holidays? Well, the town council has several plans lined up to keep the kids busy. Let's get straight into it. Programme 1, which will take place around the Prince Park area, has a sports agenda and will have participants engaged in a variety of sporting activities such as tennis, athletics, football and swimming. Programme 2 is for the somewhat less active and more creative children. They will do most of their activities in and around the Lord Hall area. These will consist of cooking, craft, dance and hairstyling. You'd be surprised at the number of children who leap at the chance to learn to cook, not to mention the other activities. The hall will be positively buzzing, I can tell you. This is a great chance for your children to learn a new skill or brush up on one that they're already crazy about. Programme 3 is for the more adventurous children. Because of this, we do insist on a minimum age limit of 11 years old. The Duke Recreational Area has been set aside for this programme. Expect your youngsters to learn a lot about leadership and teamwork as they accomplish some of their missions. They'll engage in activities such as skateboarding, rafting, orienteering, mountain biking and trekking. Well, thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
That is the end of Part 2. You now have 30 seconds to check your answers to Part 2. Part 3.
You will hear a conversation between a thesis supervisor and a student who is preparing for postgraduate study. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 27. Listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 27.
Good morning, Archie. I'm glad you came to see me.
Good morning, Dr. Newell. I made an appointment as soon as I got your message.
I'll get straight to the point, Archie. It's about your research proposal. It's not even set out correctly. I understand that you haven't done the unit on research and academic inquiry yet, but nevertheless.
I must admit, Dr. Newell, I was in a bit of a muddle about just how to approach the whole thing.
Well, start a new page in your notebook and listen carefully. I'll run through it with you briefly.
I'd really appreciate that.
Right. Well, for a start, where's your title? I don't think we can consider all this rambling at the top of the page. A convincing title. It should be descriptive but concise. You can even omit the preamble and investigation of.
Okay, a clear and compelling title.
Well, let's move on to the abstract.
Yeah, I'm not really sure I know what that is.
It's the aim of your investigation. Yours is only a relatively short dissertation, but you'll still have to include the research question, the rationale for the research, the methods you'll use, and what you expect the main findings to be.
But I don't know what I'll find because I haven't done the research yet.
But you must have some idea.
Well, yes, but the results could be quite different.
That isn't a problem. That's what research is all about. Now, moving on, some people have an introduction, and others just combine it with a literature review. In your case, I'd probably suggest you just go with a literature review.
This is where I note down the books and articles that are related to my field of study, right?
Well, it's a little more than that. You have to evaluate the relevant literature and be able to show how your research fits into a certain area.
So I write down the titles of the published material that has a similar theory to mine.
Yes, but you should demonstrate how your theory is different from others as well.
That's an awful lot of reading.
Precisely. What you have at the moment is woefully inadequate.
I guess I need to spend my summer vacation in the library.
Yes, that's not a bad idea. But let's move on, shall we?
There's more?
Yes, your next section should be methodology.
I know that means methods, but I'm a bit stuck here.
This is your work plan. This is where you summarize your data collection process.
Like who will take part?
Yes, your participants, how you'll get your samples, and most importantly, how you'll measure your samples.
So that unit on validity and reliability will finally come in useful.
Yes, but you'll also have to consider how you'll plan to proceed.
Got that. Then what?
Discussion is the next heading.
What do I discuss?
Potential outcomes. You must be able to show what significance your findings will have and how you plan to use them. Also, I think I should mention, this is the section where you'll state any limitations or weaknesses that your research might have.
There might be a few of those.
Well, that's it in a nutshell, really. There are more complex templates for research proposals, but I think this is enough considering the length of your dissertation. Oh, one more thing. Don't forget to include any ethical considerations there might be. Depending on what you have in mind for your participants, you may have to get approval from the ethics committee.
I have to get their written consent, don't I?
Yes, but you will also explain how you're going to protect their identity.
Oh, fine. I think I can handle that. Thanks very much, Dr. Newell.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 28 to 30. Now, listen and answer questions 28 to 30.
All I've done is go through the key elements with you. Let me explain that the proposal has to convince me that your project is worthwhile and that you have the necessary competence to carry it through.
I understand.
As you write it, you need to bear in mind 3 basic questions, and they are, what do you hope to accomplish? Why do you want to do it? And how are you going to do it? I can't make it simpler than that.
No, that's really helpful. Thanks.
Just a bit more advice, Archie. Students often come unstuck in their proposals because they don't organize their material. They lack focus and rely too much on repetition. Failure to cite references correctly will also go against you.
Is APA style good?
We don't specify a style in this department, but whatever you choose, it must be consistent.
I'll stick with APA. I know that one.
Good. One more thing, Archie. Don't ramble. You have a tendency to write without a clear sense of direction and include too much detail on minor issues. Keep the details for the major issues.
I'll make a note of it.
Okay. Get the revised proposal in to me by next week, and I'll have another look at it before the break.
That is the end of Part 3. You now have 30 seconds to check your answers to Part 3. Part 4.
You will hear a talk given by an ethics professor on cheating. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40. First of all, I would like to thank you for enrolling in this optional ethics course. For some time now, I've been pushing to have it made compulsory for all first-year university students, and you'll soon see why. Today's topic is cheating. For as long as there have been tests, assignments and examinations, there has been cheating of some form or another. How do we define cheating? Well, quite simply, some say it's a violation of the regulations. But what is that set of laws? Who composed them? And are they reasonable? Interestingly, a survey of Year 7 to 12 students last year showed that over a third of them cheated by cell phone during a test. Some by texting answers and a much smaller percentage by searching the internet. Over half, yes, over half of the survey's participants admitted to cheating of some kind. But, and this is the thing, many of the students didn't even acknowledge web-based cheating as cheating at all. Most thought that phone cheating or downloading a paper off the net was nothing other than a minor offence. So what's the implication? If it's not a serious offence, is it acceptable? We live in a digital age where learning is all about sharing information. And, let's face it, students today have seen so many instances of music, videos, images and text copied online without rightful recognition given as to their origin that I'm not sure whether you even fully understand the concept of plagiarism. But we can't blame the digital age alone. I know that ours is a high-stakes education system. By that I mean there is a great deal to be won or lost by a good or bad grade. If we scrutinise the system, we may well affirm that cheating isn't really dishonest. It's merely a survival skill. For many teachers and students, it's the product that counts, not the process. By process, I mean the way it is produced. You see, when learning becomes nothing more than information sharing, knowledge or data aren't figured out and understood. They're just retrieved and passed on. How much is actually absorbed? When we discuss cheating, we must look at the educational environment as well as the morality, or lack of it. Researchers have found that environments conducive to cheating are those where the focus is wrong. Sometimes instructors have no meaningful relationship with their students, perhaps due to overcrowded classrooms and lecture halls or individual personalities. Secondly, students who cheat are most often the ones who think the task is pointless or the amount of work is overwhelming. If the classroom is a place where learning is genuinely engaging and the emphasis is on openly exploring ideas, there would be no necessity for cheating. A third, and very important point, is that grades and marks matter more to some students than what they're doing. And lastly, achievement is taken to mean outperforming others, and these competitive practices encourage cheating. Anyway, I fail to see the value in working alone and cramming information into short-term memory. Real collaboration and cooperation puts the focus on thinking rather than on memorizing. I have to say that it's the actions of teachers, classroom organisation and cultural background that have as much to do with cheating as individual student behaviour. Of course, some students cheat by plagiarising or copying because they simply don't understand the material, nor do they have any confidence in their writing skills. But I think the majority of students end up plagiarising because they just don't know how to cite sources correctly, or how to sum up others' ideas in their own words. These reasons have remained the same for centuries. It's really just that the digital age has made it easier. But remember, teachers use technology to spot plagiarism too, so it's also very much easier for them. First-year students should have to complete a compulsory writing skills course, where the rudiments of proper referencing and summarising are taught. I also think it's a big mistake if ethics is not a first-year requirement as well. In this university, I think it's only the computing department that insists all its students complete a paper in ethics. Learning and education is not just about cramming facts or increasing your knowledge base. It's about intellectual integrity and honesty and rising to meet higher ethical standards. Now, this may necessitate a change in pedagogy and educational philosophy, but most importantly, it will involve a challenge to engage students in discussion on morals and academic morality.
That is the end of Part 4. You now have 1 minute to check your answers to Part 4. That is the end of the listening test. In the IELTS test, you would now have 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the answer sheet.